All right, guys, so let's talk about proximity. And what do I mean by proximity? Well, first off, you have to have a sense of where your center of mass is. So we've got other videos on that, understanding your center and how you define those boundaries and relationships and whatnot. However, once you understand where your center of mass is, and then you can start to get a sense of what's proximal to your center, okay? Meaning what's closer or further away from your center. And we want to address the things that are closer to our center of mass first. And then as they get further from our center of mass, then they become less and less vital or less important for us to address immediately or put our attention on. You can think of it like this. Imagine you're at home and someone comes in your house. They deliver a pizza or something, and then there's two guys that deliver a pizza, and they come in the house and they get into a fight in your house, right? It's probably important for you to break that up, or you might, want to intervene and stop so they don't destroy your home or your TV or your kids might be in the way, or whatever it might be, right? So there's some responsibility there on your part to address that situation as it's happening within your foundation in your own home. Now, take it a step further. Now let's say that happens outside and it happens on your lawn, right? You're inside, the door's shut, it's locked. You can go out there and break it up. You might want to, it's on your property, right? But it might fizzle out and you might not have to address it. Now, that's different than if it happens on your neighbor's lawn. Two people get in a scuffle over your neighbor's house. You might go out and break it up or whatnot. Is it still within your reach? For sure, right? Now, let's say in your community, let's say I'm a couple blocks from the park. So let's say now there's a scuffle that happens in the park. I'm at home. I might not know about it, right? I might it's far enough away that that's now if I start hearing sirens or I hear some yelling, then I get alerted. I'm like, there's something going on a couple blocks over. I need to be on high alert, right? But that doesn't necessarily I need to run down the street and get involved in whatever's going on down at the park, right? Now let's say something happens the next state over, right? Or on the other side of the country, or I'm in the U.S., so if something happens in China or Australia, right? Now, it's the same type scuffle, right? Now, for me to involve myself and to go to try to break it up or to interact with whatever's going on is more taxing and not really my responsibility. It's not my responsibility at that point, and it becomes if I go to try and so something happens in Australia. Now I got to go book a flight, get on a flight, fly. By the time I'm there, the whole thing's already done, right? And so I just use that simple example to illustrate the importance of understanding your reach, right? You want to know your foundation, what lies within your foundation, what lies outside of your foundation, what it is that impacts your relationship to your foundation, and how far out your reach is with your resources, right? Because understanding those things helps you define the barriers and the boundaries within which you're responsible for working. Now, when something comes on your foundation, it's my belief that it's your responsibility to handle it, right? But there's a line there wherever it moves out far enough beyond your foundation and it starts becoming out of reach, then at that point it's not really your thing to handle, right? It's the person's whose foundation it lies on. It's their burden, right? And well, of course, we want to help everyone around us. There has to be a line between what I can and can't impact within the world. And so this understanding proximity and understanding my relationship to myself and to my community and and what my reach is, helps inform me and helps me understand how to apply my resources to be as impactful as I can be in my life and on the mat. So in a jiu-jitsu sense, one of the things I'm looking for is when do I go for a technique and when do I not? When do I attack and when do I defend, right? And so one of my philosophies on this is whenever something comes within your foundation, that's when you bring everything you have to bear on it, right? And the further it falls from your foundation, and we could kind of define it like this. You could say that the things that you can interact with that you don't have to change the way your center relates to your foundation, those things fall within your foundation, right? Now, there's another set of things that I have a certain amount of reach, right, with my limbs and whatnot. So I can reach so far. Now, those are within my reach. Now, once I reach so far, I exhaust my reach potential, right? And once I've exhausted my reach potential, then to continue reaching, I have to change the way my center relates to my foundation, right? And so by nature, that's going to start to off-balance me. And so we've got to find a border right there that helps you start to get a sense of when you're going to put yourself in jeopardy if you go for something, right? If in order for you to go for a technique, you have to reach to your fullest and take your center to the edge of your foundation, then you can be taken advantage of. You can guarantee it. And so by knowing that, it'll help you make more prudent, accurate, concise, clean judgments in your roles, right? And in your life. And so this is one of the beautiful things about how jiu-jitsu impacts us in not only on the mat, but off the mat. It's a study of relationships. And whenever you understand how to manage, deal with, negotiate relationships on the mat, then that becomes an immediate metaphor for how to handle relationships in our own life, right? And we start being able to see the appropriate use, how to allocate our resources to reduce conflict. Remember, one of the rules is the least amount of force necessary to resolve conflict. And so if I'm having to reach and overextend myself and off-balance myself, then I'm not properly using my resources as efficiently and as effectively as I could be. Okay, so with that being said, I need to understand what's proximal to my center of mass. Now, this also relates to on the mat submissions, right? Let's say I could go for a Kimura or a rear naked choke or a heel hook or an armbar or omoplata or a cross choke, whatever it might be, right? Arm triangle, guillotine. You got all these different options that you can go for. Based off the context, the way you guys are positioned in relation to one another, and what else available to you. Let's say I'm in the person's guard with his legs wrapped around me. Well, that's not going to be the best time to go for a guillotine choke, because to go for the guillotine choke, I'm going to have to get his head below my shoulder line and my arm around his neck, and right now his hips are at my waistline, right? His legs are at my waistline. Now, it would be a more appropriate time to go for leg entanglements and a leg lock system, right? Because his legs are sitting right in my work zone, the area between my shoulders and hips, where we'll have another video on that. But whenever you understand this, right, it starts to, you identify the goals that are proximal to your center. That's the low-hanging fruit, right? That's the context that's most ripe that you should be paying attention to. And so if you watch closely the way the goals that you're going after, how far or close they are from your center of mass, that's going to be a great indicator as to what you should be putting your attention on. So another way of thinking about this is, well, we could take an armbar. If I'm going for an armbar, then I want to be going for an armbar that's close to my belly button, right? It's close to my center of mass. And so meaning like if I'm from side control or guard or back mount or wherever I might be, the shoulder that's closest to my belly button is going to be the one that's most ripe for an arm lock. This idea of proximity, which is part of Principle 6, helps us understand that. Whenever I'm paying attention to what's proximal to my center of mass, it also helps me to understand the things that are true threats versus perceived threats. A lot of stuff that can be going on that's not proximal to me, that's not proximal to my center mass, that I don't have to worry with, right? And so if I understand I don't have to worry with that, then it stops it from being a true threat, because it's not a true threat. So a true threat is something that you got to worry about. Like if the hand's on your neck and the second hand's on your neck and they start choking you, right? You got to address that or you're going to pass out. If they grab your wrist and are moving it around and it's having very little impact, that's not really a true threat, right? I don't have to fight that. That's more of a perceived threat. So understanding the difference between a true and a perceived threat is helpful. But knowing that how proximal the threat is has an impact on whether it could be a true threat or not is important. So, all right, so that's a little bit about proximity. Hope that's helpful, and we'll see you guys on the mat. If you like this content and you want to see more, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the mat.